You are tuned in to On Air with Chris Shanafelt. Welcome back on air with Chris Shanafelt as we continue our Player Spotlight series with the 2020 NFL Draft Class. And I'm now joined by Brandon Anderson, the All-American safety out of Edinboro University and finalist for the Cliff Harris Award given to the top small school defensive player in the country. Brandon, I really appreciate you taking the time this evening. How's everything going as we are now less than 3 weeks away from the start of the 2020 NFL Draft?
Everything's going good, man. I'm excited, man. I'm ready to show a team what I got and that I can play at any level.
Well, you've shown it in high school. You've shown it in college. You're a 4-year starter in high school. You're a 4-year starter at the college level. And before we get to the collegiate career that you had, Brandon, let's start off by talking about the draft process itself. Year after year, we always see guys make great impressions to NFL teams after having a big pro day workout. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic caused by the coronavirus, things took a turn about 3.5 weeks ago when the majority of pro days were canceled. Where have you been training at for the past 3 or 4 months? And were you lucky enough to participate in a pro day yet, or will you hold a mock pro day of some sort between now and the draft?
So I was training for the past 3 to 4 months at Chip Smith Performances in Atlanta, Norcross, Georgia. And I was training there from December to about March, the week before my pro day. And I was supposed to have my pro day March 16th at Temple, but unfortunately this epidemic that's going on with the corona, everything was canceled. So I've been sending videos of, like, mock videos of me to my agent. He's been sending them out, put them on his website, sending them to teams. And I was a little disappointed about everything being canceled because I felt like I was ready. I felt like I had a lot to show all 32 teams. With my 40, my 3-cone, my shuttle, and my vertical, and my bench. I was just really excited to showcase my talent.
Yeah, and you're working so hard for, 3-4 months, and for you being at Chip Smith, I mean, that's one of the top training facilities in the country. Anybody familiar with the whole pro day and combine workout, you're certainly familiar with the work and the guys that he's produced over the years, the impressive numbers he's helped generate over the years. And for you to have your pro day at a D1 school like Temple, March 16th, that's like right around when the news broke that no more pro days would be held. So I'm sure that was a tough pill to swallow. I've talked to some guys whose pro days were scheduled for like April 1st, April 2nd, and at least then they had some time to think about it. And again, still a tough pill to swallow. But for you, you got that news probably a day or two before you were ready to rock and roll for that pro day. What was the one pro day or combine activity you're looking forward to taking part in the most?
I was looking forward to showing the 40 because I knew people were going to – that's what teams wanted to see. And I wanted to show I could run that 4.5, low 4.5, and really just show them I had that downhill speed as well, not just instinct.
And how about some of the other numbers, Brandon? If you were to participate in that Temple Pro Day, what would some of the other numbers look like that you would have recorded at that Pro Day?
My 3-cone was a 6.81 and a 6.84 at Chip Smith. My shuttle was a 4.15 and a 4.19. My broad was probably my weakest out of all the drills. It was a 9.6. My vertical was a 35, and I benched pressed 20 reps.
Wow. Yeah, so it certainly would have opened some eyes with those numbers. Luckily enough, you do have plenty of film out there on your resume that teams could always go back and study. Current height and weight, Brandon, I know the latest listing on the Edinboro website has you at 6'1", 200 pounds. Is that about where you're at right now?
The height's correct, but weight-wise, I put on 10 pounds when I was at Chip Smith, so right now I'm about 210, anywhere from 208 to 210 I fluctuate.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Again, we're chatting with 2020 NFL Draft Prospect, the All-American safety out of Edinboro University, Brandon Anderson. And Brandon, how about your journey to EU? What was the recruiting scene like for you coming out of Holy Cross High School, and how did you decide that Edinboro was going to be the best fit for you?
So when I was in high school, I really didn't go to camps, and I wouldn't say I had the best work ethic either. So I wasn't like a high recruited guy, and I would have like a couple D2 schools come, and my dad came to me and said a coach named Coach Kelly at Edinboro wanted me to come up there and visit. They were looking to offer me, and I really wanted to go Division I because all my boys were going Division I and all things like that. So I went up to Edinboro, I checked it out, and I was just like, you know what, I'm gonna make the best out of this. I'm gonna do what I got to do to get to the top. And I arrived there, and the first year I had the red shirt because my SAT scores weren't great, and we went 0-11. And I was disappointed because I wanted to go to a winning culture. The following year, a guy by the name of Coach Justin Lustig, he came on staff as the head coach, and he changed the culture, man. Guys like him, Walter Fletcher, myself, Zareel Hendrick, them guys brought into the program. And we just changed the way we practiced, the way we worked, and I had no regrets. I knew it was going to be great from there.
As you mentioned, Brandon, your first year in 2015, you redshirted. The team had a winless season, and then from there you guys would go on and become one of the better teams in the PSAC over the years. And you actually started every game for the Fighting Scots over the past 4 years. That would be 44 career games played, 44 career starts. Early on in 2016, as a redshirt freshman, Brandon, what was spring ball and camp like heading into that season? I'm sure there was a competition for that starting job. What did you show the coaching staff heading into that season that allowed them to start a freshman in their last line of defense at safety?
Well, first I wanted to outwork everybody. We had a transfer who came from Ball State, and guys on the team were thinking like that position was locked up, like he was going to take it. And in my head, I was just saying, if I compete every day and show that dog I got in me, they can't deny me that spot. And just staying consistent, not just having one good practice, just building practices up through the weeks and spring ball. We had a really good coach in Bobby Babbage. He was there for the spring. He's actually the secondary coach in Buffalo now, and he was really good. He really changed the way I backpedal, just technique things. He was just really technical, and that helped me out a lot. And then once I was named the starter, I just never looked back. I knew I didn't want to lose it, not just be a starter. I wanted to be the best safety in the PSAC, not just on the team.
And you were just then not only the best safety in the PSAC, arguably the best safety in Division II football, and now here you are, knocking on the NFL's doorstep. You would lead the team in tackles the following 3 seasons as a sophomore, junior, and senior. You averaged about 100 tackles per season. And Brandon, I'm not going to sit here and act like I've watched a ton of Edinboro football over the years, but I did catch a few games this past season. And as cliche as it sounds, you always seem to be wherever the ball is at. And that's, making plays against the pass and the run. You have 26.5 tackles for loss for your career, 17.5 coming in the past 2 seasons. How were you able to, more times than not, always be around the football when a play is to be made on the defensive side of the ball? How much is that you and your skill set, your drive, your determination to get the job done, and how much is that due to the coaches calling the right plays and having you in the right position to capitalize?
So I had our defensive coordinator was Coach Colin Neely, and I remember it was a spring ball practice in 2016, and I didn't run to the football because I thought Walt scored. And, I mean, he chewed me out. He started yelling, and he was just going off on me. And I told myself, I'm never going to let that happen again. And a lot of times these tackles happen on the backside of plays. The hustle, just never stopping pursuit to the football is really what helped me. And he really instilled that into the whole defense, just making sure all 11 jerseys are around the football. Never assume the teammate got the job done.
Mm-hmm. That reminds me, Brandon, we're here in Chicago, and that reminds me of the Lovie Smith coach Chicago Bears. We always hear stories from whether it's Charles Tillman or Nathan Vasher or Brian Urlacher. If the ball is on the ground in practice and games, no matter what, I mean, I remember seeing it in person in training camp practices. If there's a ball on the ground, you'll always see somebody on that defensive side of the football run towards it and pick it up, no matter what it is. It could be a one-on-one drill. 7-on-7s, 11-on-11s, no matter what, somebody was picking up the football. And then once Lovie Smith left Chicago and, the Bears brought in another coach by the name of Mark Trestman, you kind of seen that determination and that factor kind of wear off, and you've seen the franchise has struggled pretty much ever since. Going back to your collegiate career, though, Brandon, heading into your senior season, you had a total of 4 career interceptions. During your senior season for the Fighting Scots, Brandon, you matched that number, picking off opposing quarterbacks 4 times, put that total number to 8 career interceptions. Did you see anything differently this past season, or did you study or work on anything in the offseason that allowed you to have your most successful season in terms of defending passes thrown your way?
Yeah, so I was pretty upset my sophomore and junior year that I didn't make first team All-American. And I would look, I'm not going to lie, I would look at the stats of guys who did, and I would see their tackles. They would be much low, but their interceptions, they had more interceptions than me. So I had a roommate of mine, and every day he'll come in my room like, we need you to take the ball out there. I had to get out my mind that everything needed to be a big hit or crushing somebody rather than just taking it out the air. So this year I really focused on trying to pick the ball off instead of going for the big hit. And I knew that would help my causes for trying to be an All-American, just making sure there was a balance rather than just looking like I'm in the box all the time, or just looking like a tackler, trying to be more versatile, not one-dimensional.
And I think that's what attracts me most to your game, Brandon, is that you have that perfect balance. You could come in there, you could lay the hard hit if needed, but you also have the ball skills, and you also have the coverage skills that where, if needed, you could also force a turnover by forcing an interception as well. I remember stumbling upon your game for the first time when I was studying cornerback Zaril Hendrick back in 2018. He was one of the top cornerbacks in Division II, had a tryout with the Bears last year. What was it like for you guys to work in the same defensive backfield for 3 seasons, Brandon? And has he or any of your other former teammates that have gone through this draft process given you any advice as you now look to tackle on the professional football career?
Yeah, so me and Z actually talk often. He's amazing. He's actually an amazing athlete, but more importantly, he's just a great person. Like, there's never been jealousy. No matter how much success he had or I had, we always pushed each other. And as leaders in the secondary, we had 2 different personalities. I'm more of the aggressive guy, like, things I'm getting on guys. He's going to bring you up. And it was a perfect balance in the secondary because we did the work, for example, so guys could follow. It wasn't like we're just telling you what to do or going over film. We're having group film sessions during the week. And he was just so great as a person, and it helped me trust him on the field and vice versa. We just trusted each other, and it was great chemistry. And I was excited for him when he had his tryout with the Bears because I understand how hard he worked for it, and he deserved it. And other teammates I had, Walter Fletcher, we was actually training together at Chip Smith's. That's like my brother. We're always just going at it, whether it's video games, whether it's scout team. We've been going at it for years, and we just strive on competing. We trying to win at everything we do. Them 2 are one of my favorite teammates. I had a guy by the name of Aaron Rodgers. He was a cornerback this year. He really had an amazing year, and he was trying to play at the next level. And unfortunately, he got in a pretty bad car accident. So his dreams really were stopped there. So really, my motivation, extra motivation, is coming from that, making sure I get it done for both of us because I know how much he loves football, how much he appreciates the game.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear that. That's obviously very tragic, but here you are now trying to live out both of your guys' dreams as you're now here on the doorsteps of the NFL. And yeah, we've had Walter on the show a couple of times, and again, he's going through this same process as well, and I think he's more than capable of being an impact player at the next level as you are, Brandon. A few more questions for Brandon Anderson, the standout safety out of Edinboro University, 2020 NFL draft prospect. And, Brandon, when you hear that 2020 NFL draft prospect, does it feel surreal at all? I mean, when did you realize that you had a legit shot at furthering your football playing career at the professional level?
So the first part of the question, no, to be honest, it doesn't feel surreal because as a kid, I always knew that this is what I wanted to do. But when it became a real reality, I would say after my sophomore year, I saw the success I had, and I knew I had more to give. Like, I was young still. I had a lot to learn. And I just, my junior year, I felt it. I'm like, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to be the best Division II safety. And I'm gonna go out there, and whatever team decides to take a chance on me, I'm gonna give them everything I got, whether it's special teams, whatever the coach needs. If he needs me to long snap, I'm long snapping. Whatever the coach who coaches me needs, I'm willing to do anything to be a part of that team. And it's never been about the money. I love the game. Like, I can be around football all day. So really, no, it's not a surprise. But I'm not done yet. So I'm not nowhere near done yet. So I'm ready to continue to prove myself.
Have you met with any teams over the years, Brandon? I'm sure scouts have come out, watched some practices, maybe even made it to a couple of, high-powered PSAC games. Have you gotten any feedback as to how the NFL views you up to this point?
Yes, a couple teams came in during the course of the year. Last spring, Philly and Washington came in. This year, Tennessee came in. I talked on the phone with the Chargers. My agent's been in contact with a couple teams as well. I try not to get too wrapped up into it. Whoever is going to take that chance, they're going to get the best effort, the best guy they can get in the locker room, teammate, etc.
I mentioned it earlier, Brandon. We're in Chicago. The Bears are in need of a safety, strong safety, to play alongside All-Pro Eddie Jackson. What would it be like to play for a team such as Chicago with a defense that includes the likes of Eddie Jackson, Khalil Mack, Kyle Fuller? Obviously, you'd like to play for any of the 32 teams that give you a call, but what would it be like playing for the charter franchise of the NFL and a team known for their stellar play on the defensive side of the ball?
That would be amazing, man. I've been watching the Bears for a long time. Just like you said, the guy like Eddie Jackson, I watched a ton of film on him. That guy had instincts. I mean, he has a nose for the football. His range covering in that post, he can get sideline to sideline, is amazing. Growing up watching Urlacher play, Lance Briggs, those guys, they were ballers. And I just love the grittiness. That's what I get from Chicago when I think of the Bears defense, gritty. They don't give up anything. And that would mean a lot to play for an organization like that.
Again, that's the voice of Brandon Anderson, the standout safety out of Edinboro University, 2020 NFL Draft prospect. And Brandon, you guys play in a very competitive Pennsylvania Athletic Conference. There's been a ton of talent that have come out of the PSAC over the years. You mentioned some of your former teammates, Darrell Hendrick, Walter Fletcher. Who do you think is the best player that you've lined up against over the years? It could be a quarterback, running back, receiver, tight end, you name it. Is there a specific player or two that comes to mind?
Yes. I think this year we played against Slippery Rock's quarterback Ronald Rivers, and I liked his approach to the game. He's never too high, never too low. You could tell he watches a ton of film. He understands his disguise. He understands how to read a defense. I appreciated his game, so I would say Ronald Rivers, him and Walter Fletcher. Even though I went against Walt in practice, I just think Walt has a special talent.
Well, yeah, he was one of the top D2 running backs when he was there at Edinboro. Obviously, a very successful year at Ball State in the MAC in the D1 level as well. And then, yeah, Rivers, reigning Harlan Hill Trophy Award winner, the D2 Heisman, so you certainly cannot go wrong there. How about most memorable play that you've made for the Fighting Scots, Brandon? Looking back 10, 15 years from now, what will be that first play that comes to mind?
Okay. There was a sophomore year, we played Clarion, and there was a screen. They ran a screen, and I had a feel that it was coming, and I was coming from high. We was too high, and I was coming down into the box. And there was two offensive linemen that came to attack me, and instead of, going around it, I split both of them and made a leg sweeping tackle, and it was like a third down. And I really feel like that defined my career. When plays needed to be made on third down, I always wanted to be the guy to come up with the tackle. And I really feel like that was probably my favorite play in my career.
And like you said, kind of the story of your career. I mean, when the team relied on you, when the team needed a big play on the defensive side of the ball, you were certainly there to make it a number of times. For those not familiar with your game, Brandon, how would you describe it? What would you say is your biggest strength that you bring to the strong safety position?
I would say my instincts, understanding what's going to happen, being able to react. I would say toughness and durability, starting off 44 games. I think that shows my durability. No matter how hurt I was, how I felt, I was always going to make sure I played throughout the week. And to finish off, I would say tackling. I had 353 tackles, and I think that's rare as a safety, just being around the football at all times. So I would definitely say my tackling.
Yeah, that's one thing I forgot to hit on, but you mentioned it, durability. Earlier, I mentioned it. You played in every single game over the past 4 years. You started every single game over the past 4 years. That's 44 career games, Brandon. When people hear that, I don't think they really understand that, how impressive that is. I mean, every play you're kind of getting into what is compared to a car accident almost every single play, the type of impact that is. Talk about your durability. I mean, it's not like you felt 100% every game. Why was it important for you? I'm sure you dealt with some nagging injuries over the years. Why was it important for you that come game day you made sure you were ready to go out there and play for the Fighting Scots?
Well, it was more important. It was more important to make sure I practiced throughout the week so my teammates were comfortable by the time Saturday came, and we were all prepared. And durability to me was just taking care of your body. I had amazing trainers, and Miss Danielle, Miss Audra, and they always made sure I was okay, whether it was after practice, stretching me, making sure I got in the tubs, whatever it may be. They always had my back, and I think that was a big reason why I played 44 straight games.
Shout out to the Edinboro University training staff, no doubt about it. Final question for you, Brandon, then we'll let you go. Let's say we have all 32 NFL general managers. They're listening to this very interview. Why should they want the safety out of Edinboro University, Brandon Anderson, a part of their team?
Because I'm a great guy in the locker room. More importantly, I'm coachable, and I'm going to give everything I got, and I won't allow myself to fail.
Hey, nothing else needs to be said after that. Brandon, really appreciate you taking the time. Congratulations on all the success, at Edinboro University, being a all-conference safety, being an all-American safety there for the Fighting Scots over the years, and now here you are again 3 weeks away from the start of the 2020 NFL Draft. Wishing you all the best, and we're really looking forward to seeing where your football career lands next.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you for having me, Christian. It means a lot.